All right, everybody. Welcome to week one of the rundown with Corey Marco. Pun intended. Basically, what we're trying to do with this is each week just kind of give a quick look at all the matchups coming up in the KTP League. Some of the players that might have the most impact on those matches. Maybe go over the week's previous matches, go over the map, and some things that each team might need to do to win that week. This is obviously a work in progress. This is the first week of any of this stuff going on. So, if you've got any concerns, complaints, suggestions, whatever, just leave them down below in the suggestion leg. Huh? The rundown? Woo. I had to. Um, anyway, so yeah, we're just gonna go on by that. What we got coming up this week, DoD Harrington, a map that I am personally not a fan of anymore, although it used to be one of my absolute favorites. However, things have changed, and this map has become more about just flooding the crap out of middle and leaving the flanks to just one or two guys to handle at their own demise in the end. So, what we got coming up in gold, first matchup we're going to look at is my team, Thunder, versus Typical. We can take a look at the rosters here. Oh, what's all this? It's DoD is life. Okay, so for Thunder, you're going to have Tox, me, Jules, J-Rod. And then this week in particular, we're going to have John Gale and Tony Compton playing. Just been scrimming with this lineup as well. And up against Typical, who I suspect their lineup will be Scotty, Nightmare, Team Owner, Manor, King Yo, Baron, and I think Toki, but it could be Die Life. Did I just list? I listed 7. It'll be some combination of those guys. So it's a tough matchup. I think honestly, all the teams in gold, upper, invite, whatever you want to call it, very evenly matched. Anybody who thought that one or two teams are going to just run away with this have been proven very wrong right off the bat in all the scrims that have been going on. For me, I have the players to watch listed for Thunder, Tox, and Jules. Obviously, those are two of the best players in the game, period. And if they're not going, Thunder's not going, period. And for Typical, I went with Teemo and Nightmare. I imagine that Nightmare is going to be heavying. He's been heavying a lot. So he would probably heavy and Toki would snipe, I think. It's possible Nightmare's just, doesn't need practice with the sniper and has been heavying just for fun, and he might be sniping, which would be a fucking nightmare for us, let me tell you. But regardless, I think realistically, the keys for us to win are just that Jared gets 120 kills going middle, and that's about it. Short of that, we're probably fucked. For Typical, their nades, Teemo is a god with nades. People talk about CK. I think Colin is up there with him in the same exact tier, and they're like a tier above everybody else, besides the Tox. And then what else do I have listed for that? Oh, their communications will be perfect. Like, I have no doubt that team won't end up in like a rage cycle if anything goes wrong. And that is huge on Harrington, especially because the way that the map is just, it's so connected. You'll see it in scrims all the time when guys feel a little more comfortable doing it, but you can just kind of like ninja your way around any of the routes and find yourself flanking mid all the time. So, your communications need to be on. You can't afford to rage on this map because valuable seconds get lost then, and it can go from you're about to cap to they cap out on you just like that. But yeah, no prediction. J-Rod picks Typical. If I had to pick, I would pick Typical too. This map is a curse for us, and honest to God, we figured it out, like right around the time that DoD died the last time, and we had something like 72% of our losses ever were on Harrington. So we have like 5 finals match losses in Harrington. Thankfully, they were in like best of 3 situations, so we were able to still win, but don't even get me started on this. So moving on, good luck, have fun to Typical, by the way. I think it's going to be a fun match. I think it'll be a close match, unless Jared doesn't get 120 kills, then we're screwed. So We got working title against Paul's Money Crew. Um, Working title, the players to watch I went with PDX and Leo, obviously. Those guys, when they're on, good for 40 plus kills, half. If you got PDX locking down Mountain House, I assume he'll be heavying. Um, and Leo going middle. Like, if you got those two routes just locked down, you're going to be in good shape. It helps, obviously, to have long, too, but a lot of times long ends up like 1v1, and it's pretty easy to just kind of eliminate a push that happens to your spawn from there. It's not the end of the world giving up those spots. It can be, but most of the time it's not. I should probably go over the lineups too, but we've got Till, PDX, Leo, P12, Bud, Patton for working title. I assume will be the starting six. For PMC, we got Paul Kuhn, PB, Kaboom, CK. I'm imagining for sure, and then some combination of like 9 Crod. Element I know has been playing a bit, so I'm not sure. They seem to not even be sure about their sixth. I talked to CK. He wasn't budging on giving me any info, but he seemed to be just generally unsure about who the last guy would be. So either way, like they have plenty of talent lurking around on the bench there. So whoever they have as their sixth, it'll be a nice setup. Whoever ends up, I assume, having with Kaboom, like as Kaboom's heavy partner, you don't have to do too much. The guy will get a bunch of kills, even if he doesn't mean to do it. He might just be spraying at one guy and kill 3 guys over that way. You never know. So between the two of those teams, I already went over their players to watch here because it's obvious, I went with PB and Kaboom for Paul's Money Crew. I mean, obviously Paul Kuhn just proved in the draft finals that he can make a huge difference sniping in middle, and that could most definitely still happen. I think him and Patton are going to have a pretty big battle in mid sniping. They might just kind of like wash each other out to the point where there's no real net positive or negative from the sniper class. And just in general on Harrington lately, the way that the map gets played, the focal point being put on middle and ending up with like 3-4 guys, and in some cases 5 going mid for each team. The snipers just kind of get lost by the wayside. There's so many nades flying at you. You got Garans and cars just like pre-firing you on every angle. You got heavies shooting at you from ladder. If you drop 30 kills sniping on Harrington at this point as a sniper in a match situation, then you've done more than enough. So, I mean, Paul Kuhn just won the MVP of the draft, but that's why he's not listed as a player to watch here. Kaboom going up against PDX on Mountain. If he has a big match and can lock down PDX, that will be huge for PMC. And PB, Justin, he can be just such a monster. I assume he'll be going mid. And as somebody who's gone mid with him many times, he's very capable of dropping 90 kills. And if he does that, like it's tough to get anything going when you've got a rifle just dropping 90 kills in your face in middle. It's just not going to happen, especially when your nades are on. And you've got CK on PMC, so their nades are going to be on, even if they're just his nades. So, but what I've got for the working title, keys to win, a measured aggression. You don't want to get overly crazy with it, and you've got guys on that team who will make sure that doesn't happen. Till, obviously, he's going to be more passive. He will make sure that stuff is getting held down. PDX, he is a very measured player. He never really takes bad pushes. He knows when to hold back. He will be sort of like the in-game general with Till when it comes to keeping people in their spots, not overly pushing, and that'll be key. And of course, big performance from PDX and Leo, and James. I assume that James will be going middle on Allied side, especially with Leo. They'll be flooding the crap out of it. So you get big performances from those 3 guys. It really is not going to matter what else happens. Patton will be good. You know it. Evan will be good. Bud will be good. Like they'll all do their jobs, but you need big performances from those key players. And for PMC, I said significantly less aggression. You've got a couple guys on that team that want to push all the time. They just want to hold down W, and they can't afford to do that in this matchup. Like, it will not go well against guys like James and PDX and Leo and Patton. Well-timed rotations. Having just played with Corey, he in a scrim against Skull, he is very capable of always rotating in the right place. Like, for all the talk about CK being like, a little bit slow at times, he is very, very smart in game, and it's an underrated aspect of his game. He just sometimes will just kind of do whatever he wants, but when he's really trying to put the screws to you, that guy can be all over the map with very perfect timing. So those rotations are going to be key for them because working title is going to be just sort of like slotting around the map based on spawns. PDX will be directing guys where they need to go. The initials are going to be very key, especially on Axis side. The way that people play this map now, you almost have no chance to do anything in mid on Axis side because you're going to see 3 or 4 guys run into mid. There'll be 6 nades flying up the lip of white stairs. They'll be pre-firing the balcony. There'll be a sniper looking at left side stairs. You need to not you need to resist the instinct to just run out and go for that pick. Unless you have the front spawn as a sniper and you're confident in being able to get that pick. Or I guess if you feel good enough about throwing that nade without getting killed. But realistically, you just should try not to do it. And you should just be sort of using that to get yourself set up to try to take them down right after the cap. Because odds are you're going to get just wiped in middle. So you need to have good initials for PMC because working title will. And Mountain House. PDX will be going that way. You've got to hold down PDX. That guy is arguably the best player in the game right now. And I fully suspect that he will be on his stuff come match time. So for me, I think it's going to be a close match and maybe a closer match than people expect. Having played with and against these guys enough, I think this is going to be a little bit of a toss-up, and it's going to come down to just who has the better allied side. Who can lock things down with the bar. Kaboom is just as capable as PDX of going off on his bar half, especially. So I think working title will probably pull it out, and I'm thinking it'll probably be 2 caps. I don't think, I mean, things can get crazy, obviously, with a team like PMC. You've got some guys that are like me who can get a little bit rage. I think Paul will keep them toned down a little bit. That will be key as well. And you just don't want to fall down the slippery slope of starting to freak out if you get to give up a couple caps. If they do, it's going to be a long, long 40 minutes. But if they can keep themselves together and not look at it like, well, we're down by 2 caps heading into our allied side or 4 caps or whatever, like we can do this. I think that they have the ability to pull this off and upset and shock the world. So, but heading into the match of the week, this was my pick for the match of the week, at least. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but we've got G-Skill versus Skull. So looking at G-Skill's lineup, I think the best lineup on paper in the game right now. And all 100 of these teams that are out there. You got Taylor and Milo heavying. You got Frank and Devin and Linus or Gall or even KO on the rifles. And then you got Chuck sniping. You don't see a hole in that lineup at all, obviously. And they are all very versatile. They can play pretty much any class. Chuck can even play any class and make a difference. So, they could mix and match. You could see Devin Carbar. You could see Taylor Carbar. You could see Frank Carbar. But that will be the lineup, one form or another. And then for Skull, I believe that their lineup will be Bees. I think Booten is missing. I don't think he's going to be there. I think it'll be Bees, Colin, Debo, Justin, Vertex, and then either Hildebrand or the Bears. There's 6. I'm guessing that Hildebrand will be playing and sniping, and that Debo will move over to the heavy. But again, a really good lineup on paper. So this is a very interesting matchup. Now, for me, for G-Skill's keys to win, I mean, I just wrote, just do what they always do. They're G-Skill. I mean, they're a well-oiled machine. They've won in the last like 3 or 4 years of the game or whatever. They won even more titles than we did, I believe. And they're a bunch of freaky good players. They all know each other well. They're not, if they tilt, they have the right kind of personalities to pull them back in. So, it's going to be, they're not going to have a problem with any of that. Having scrimmed against them on Harrington a couple times and getting smoked by them, I'm pretty sure we won one of them, and it was when they had like 4 starters. So that doesn't count. But yeah, they're going to be fine. Like, they're a crazy team. For Skull's keys to win, nades. Those nades are going to be very important because you don't want to be taking a peek at the wrong times. You want to be using those nades to clear stuff out. You'd prefer to be killing them with nades whenever they're going for middle. I know the Skull guys know all the nades. They work on them all the time. They practice them a lot. And if they can execute those nades a lot and use that to move into mid control and then work the rotations into flanks. You want to be catching these guys off guard. Most of the time, you peek them 1-for-1, they're going to be able to get the kill on you. They're just that good. And you got Milo, who's like weirdly lagging around, like he's got 300 ping, even though he's only got 30 ping. Makes it even tougher to kill him. So, it's one of those things where if you can clear out any given spot with nades against that team, you're going to want to do it because they're not going to miss much. And you've got to take advantage when they do miss, let me tell you. And with the flanks, like, again, the way that this map works is there's so much focus put on middle. If you can use those extremities to your advantage, that will give you the chance to kind of like pull control back in your direction. Because a lot of times you'll see teams just sort of forget about those spots. Like they'll get caught up trying to break mid or going for a cap, and all of a sudden there'll be this empty spot on long, and you can just kind of, Skull's done it in scrims where guys pick the right time to go take long, push around you, get the flank, and then all of a sudden it goes from your team is looking to cap out to your team is being capped out on. And I think that will be key for them to be able to pull things back against G-Skill, especially on Skull's Axis side. If they can use the extremities to their advantage and even after ceding mid control, be able to use that to get it back, get timely kills, hit those nades well, that I think is going to be the way that they can win. The players to watch, Devin and Taylor. You can pick anyone from G-Skill. Anybody could go off on that team and drop 90 to 100 kills. Devin, in scrims, I believe, has carbarred a couple times. He's also just straight up rifled. I think I've seen Taylor carbar in scrims. Both of them, though, Devin, I'm pretty sure he had a half with like 70 plus kills lately. You do not see that happen often under any circumstance. I don't even care who's on the other team. Doesn't matter. 70 kills and a half is a lot. The guy is crazy. So those two, but again, Frank is just as capable of doing that. Milo is, Chuck is, Linus is, Gull is. They're all just as capable of going insane. And for Skull, I went with Bees and Justin Lynch. The reason for those two is that if they can lock down Mountain, that gives them another avenue to be able to regain control of the map. Now, again, with Skull, they have their whole team is capable of making a huge impact. There are a lot of talented players on that team. But going up against Taylor and Milo, or if it's Taylor and Devin, or it's Milo and Devin, you can't afford to just get like burned on Mountain House. I assume Justin will be playing and heavying. Maybe not. Maybe it's Debo and Bees, in which case just slot Debo into that player to watch spot. Mountain House is going to be very key. But Skull has just a lot of talent on it too. This is, I think, the two most talented overall lineups in the game right now. And going head to head, it's going to come down to like the battles in those specific routes. On long, I imagine for G-Skill, it'll be... actually, I don't know, because they have, like, all players who also have played mid in the past. So, it might be Frank and Linus or Gall. It's tough to say for sure, but I think it'll be pretty even on mid and on long, and it's going to come down to that mountain route. So, we'll see what happens there. I think G-Skill will win. I think G-Skill will pull it off, but I think Skull will surprise everybody with just... they're going to give them a run for their money. Like, we've scrimmed against both teams a lot, and both teams have just shit down our throats in equal amounts. So, it was a pretty easy pick for the map of the week. It'll be fun to watch. I'll probably be shoutcasting it. I assume it won't be going on at the exact same time as our match. I think we're playing in the afternoon, so I should be shoutcasting that. Chuck said he will be shoutcasting it while playing, so you got that to look forward to. It's basically the same as streaming, like you're basically shoutcasting while you're streaming. At least that's the instinct of guys like he and I, so... yeah, that's the week for the gold division. We're going to try to keep track of things as far as like kill counts and records and everything like that. We're talking about doing an all-star team potentially for the division. So, again, if you got suggestions, suggestion leg. But we're pretty much going with like a little bit of a DoD ESPN look to this. This is going to be the most like low budget that anything is going to be. But I just wanted to get this done and give it to Caleb so that he could do something with it before the matches actually were happening. So moving on to silver, No Regard versus Heavyweight. I picked for the match of the week. So No Regard has been asking to be moved up to upper, and I assume it's because they've been like really laying down the law on scrims. So this will be a big test for them. You know, if they come out in their first official match and just like lay down the law, that gives them a good case to be moved to upper. But if they're held to a close match here by heavyweight, then it's kind of like, okay, you guys, you know, like you're maybe the best team in silver, but you know, you got to show that like you're really deserving of that upper berth. You know, it's kind of like the way it was in Cal back in the day, where you know teams, if they went and just like dominated for a few weeks, like okay, then you're moving up to the next division kind of thing. So I mean, so there I had a little trouble getting info about some of the silver teams lineups and stuff, but as far as I can tell, for no regard, it'll be Tomfoolery, Candyman, Insam, I think Mirison, Hey Hi, and one of the two of Suave and Carpenter. And for heavyweight, from what I can tell, it was like Soya, Nay, Mandrak, Matt, Rafina, and Hayek, I believe was what it was. For my players to watch, I went with Insam, of course, and Mirison. Mirison going Mountain. Again, Mountain House is it's just very important because of the way you can just cause hell from ladder, and you can throw nades from both sides of mountain to break mid or to clear out mid if you know how to do it right. So the players to watch: Insam and Mirison. Insam, obviously, amazing player no matter what he's playing, and I'm sure he's gonna be good for like at least 70 kills overall, not in a half. If he does that, that's insane. And then Rafina and Soya, again, two amazing players. With the capability to just break a map open for their team, and they're going to need to do it against these guys for sure. The no regard keys to win, big performances from the rifles, in middle especially. Insam, I'm sure will do it. He's a very consistent player no matter who he's playing against. Throwing the nades though into mid is going to be key as well, just because of the way that like hitboxes seem to work and stuff lately. Breaking mid, a lot of times you don't want it to come down to the last second and hitting a shot. It will still count the cap. We've had it happen a couple times where we would have capped out had we broken mid, and when you do break it, you get it off in time, but it still counts the mid cap. It doesn't register as a break. So got to make sure you're throwing those nades right. For heavyweights, lock down the extremities and work back to mid. Insam is going to be really holding down mid with, I assume, Tom, and that's a very good mid team. If you can use the extremities, just like I was talking about with Skull, to then work back into mid, you need to be surprising them. If you're just peeking really good players straight up 1-for-1, it's a toss-up. It's a 50-50 peak. Chuck's least favorite peak in the game. So you want to make sure that you're using those flanks to your advantage and the nades. It's kind of the same keys to victory as it was for Skull versus G-Skill, If they could do that, you're in good shape. If not, then it again can be a long day, but it'll be an interesting match for sure. I'll probably be shoutcasting this one as well. I'm not sure what time it's going to be at and what day, but we'll see. So, Pro OnlyFans versus No Go, very easily could have been the match of the week as well. The only thing for me was I'm not sure who is playing for No Go and how much they've been playing lately. And I'm not positive what the lineup is for Pro OnlyFans. I imagine it'll be some combination of like low carb Modgers, Corey, Laura, Dustin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I think it'll just be these first 6 here. Okay. And then for No Go, I'm so not sure. Like Matthew will definitely be playing. Louis will definitely be playing. I assume Johnny will be playing. And Recoil will be playing. I don't know, though. Like, Andy Sheen could be playing. Blue could be playing, for all I know. Like, I don't know. Maybe Leroy's playing, or Deidro, or Spoon, Coy. I don't know if Coy's played the game ever. I mean, in the last, like, year or whatever. So, Sick, like, he's been playing a little bit more. But I don't know. I have no idea what the lineup is. They might not even know. But this is assuming, if you assume No-Go has their best roster, like, their best players on paper, and that they've been playing all the time lately. No-Go was always like an upper team for the last like 5-6 years of the game. They were playing in TPG, Invite, Up, or whatever you want to call it. So if they've got those guys and they're playing all the time, like that is a totally different story than like if it's just they're showing up for the first time in like 6 months or whatever. Regardless, though. So for the players to watch, Low Carb and Dustin I went with for Pro OnlyFans. Dustin, I believe, will be sniping in mid. And then Low Carb, I imagine, will be heavying. I'm not positive, though. Again, not able to get much information. And for no-go, I went with Louis and Andy Sheen. Is he playing? I don't know for sure. If he is, it could get crazy. It's Andy Sheen. I don't need to say what the deal is there. He could get crazy, though. But Louis, I imagine, will be rifling mid, and as somebody who's gone mid with him and gone against him a lot, he can do some crazy things there. He can really be a thorn in your side. Both playing passive and aggressive, which is, I think, sort of like the key to being a good mid player is being a little bit unexpected in how you're going to handle things. But for the keys to victory for Pronely fans, you want low carb to be second half Hallie low carb, not first half Hallie. He knows what I mean. No, I'm just kidding. Regardless, he had 37 kills in that second half, and I believe he had 10 in the first half. You want the low carb who is doing whatever it takes to get the kills. As you expect he will do. He's more than willing to prone and shoot you in the back. He's more than willing to let you run by. He's more than willing to do whatever it takes to get the kills. If he's able to do those things and also throw in a little bit of aggression and get the kills there too, it's going to be tough to top that. Staying positive in Discord, obviously, just like with our team, they've got some personalities that can get tilted. And then it can very quickly be like a slippery slope down to like everybody just being ready to jump off a roof, So you got to stay positive in Discord and keep making good communications. Again, Harrington, you got to be calm and well. So, and well-timed aggression as well. You've got a couple players that are willing to play passive, but they've also got to pick the right time to be aggressive too. You don't want to just be playing to hold and then you get team wiped all of a sudden. You're getting capped on. You thought you had everything held down. You want to be pushing for caps whenever possible, but you got to pick the right times to do it. You got somebody like Brett. You got somebody like Modgers. You got Corey. You got Caleb. You got smart players who are able to pick the right time to push and the right time to be like, whoa, and just hold back. So as long as they're doing that, I think they're in good shape. For no-go, again, I'm not positive who's playing for no-go. The main six has a lot of old school talent, like looking at the main six on paper, but they haven't really been playing. It's going to fully depend on who's playing and how rusty they are. But Louis can really lay the smackdown in mid. I think regardless of who else they have playing, if Louis is having a good game in mid, that's going to be very important for no-go. But if they have like their best six and they're all like basically at least as close to 100% as they can be, that's a scary team for any division. So it's going to depend on that. I feel like I forgot to do predictions in a lot of these matches. It's irrelevant what my predictions are. I would say if I'm going back and looking at it, I think no regard for this matchup. I think Pronely fans for this matchup, but again, I don't know who's playing for no-go and how much they've played lately. I did predict this one. G-Skill, working title. Okay. Sleepers versus fail, I don't have like any information about, and I've asked a bunch of people. I know that Chai is a good player. Outside of that, I'm not too familiar with a lot of the guys on either of these teams. I think I've played against or with Bronson and Sirio and Jiraiya. But again, not positive. So I'm probably going to keep trying to dig for information and re-record this portion of the video or something. But regardless, good luck and have fun to everybody this week. We'll be back next week with DoD Shamil, where I've got a bye week, thank God. Although I think we should have, hopefully, if we could have picked, it would have been this week. We don't want to play Harrington. Let me just make that very abundantly clear. But so we'll be back next week, and I think the production value will go up severely rather than me using a janky iPhone set up as a face cam, like stuck in a fucking old leg next to my, energy drink on the computer. But, so good luck to everybody. Have good matches. Submit to Frag of the Week, whoever's making it. Submit your screenshots to us so you can, have your frag totals all added up for the whole year. And, let's have a good season. It's DoD in 2022. Who thought we would be here? I did not. Maybe somebody did, but, it is what it is.